And on this week's In Focus session, I wanted to talk to you about motivation. Because to keep it completely 100 and completely real, is I feel like I've been really lacking in motivation recently. And I'm someone who's kind of quite motivated, quite heavily motivated when it comes to the things that I like to do, like this podcast and my coaching and when I write. Even just being out and about and seeing friends or going for walks in nature, like I feel like a good energy from it. But recently I've kind of felt like I've just been lacking in motivation, in inspiration, and just feeling like a sense of just like a lowness, if that makes sense. And I was having a conversation with my coach just yesterday, actually, and I brought it up to him, and he said, like, explain what's going on. I just said to him, like, just feel like I'm missing something, and he stopped me and he said, well, that's exactly the problem. Is you're looking for something to fix how you're feeling. But there's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. You just need to ride it out. And I know sometimes it can be hard to kind of be in a place where you don't necessarily feel 100% great. It can be hard to convince yourself to ride that out, because we feel like we want to get past, the times when we're not feeling our best, right? So we kind of fight against those feelings. We fight to create something. We fight to find the missing link. And what happens is we end up just creating more conflict around what it is that we're feeling, and we end up feeling more of it. We end up intensifying that feeling because we're just saying to ourselves, I don't like this feeling that I'm having. I need to get out of it. And we're just giving more attention to the feeling, which makes the feeling grow. And I think I've been doing a lot of that because I've had some worries and stresses recently, particularly with the lockdown, and it's coming to the end of the year. And I generally start to get quite introspective around this time of year and reflective on everything that's happened. And I just feel like I've let a lot of the year get on top of me. Although there's been some really great highs, don't get me wrong, I just feel like I've let a lot of the stresses and the worries that I've carried throughout the year really get on top of me in the last few weeks. And that's led to me having this feeling of not being inspired by what I'm doing or motivated by what I'm doing, because I had this overhanging feeling of worry or stress or anxiety. And to me, looking at it now, that's not a problem with anything that I'm doing. That's a problem with how I'm being and how I'm showing up and the things that I am putting out into the world. And I talk a lot about when I travel, I feel so free within my thinking, within my body, and I live with so much love and compassion. And I feel like when you're coming from that place, your experience of life is just great. And there's no reason why I can't come from that place in my life now. Like there's no difference other than the surroundings, right? The only difference around it is the thinking that I have in this surrounding. And in this surrounding, I have more connection to the worries and the stresses that I have, because it's a kind of day-to-day living. It's a more of a mundane type of living. You're not exploring something new, or you're not in a new country and meeting new people all the time and living this like incredible experience of life. It's a mundane day-to-day living, and sometimes that can feel a little bit flat, and that's all right, because at the end of the day, life is an experience. It's not here to be this massive high all the time. And one of the things that's really helped me this week is just looking back. I was actually listening to a podcast with Matthew McConaughey, the actor. I can't remember which podcast exactly it was on. I think it was a Rich Roll podcast, and he was talking about his new book. And he's gone through like many years of journaling that he's done. And what he says, one of the processes that he does is when he's not feeling great, is he goes back to his journals to look at times when he felt like he was coming from a better place, when he was coming from a greater sense of motivation or being or love and compassion. What were the things that was going on in his life around then? Why was this feeling so strong in those moments? And it got me wondering, like, actually, what's something that, I'm not showing up for myself in what sort of way? What's the thing that's, I don't want to use the word missing, but like, what's the thing that really helps me to be more, motivated, to be more compassionate, to be more present, to be more available in the space that I'm living? And one of the things I've noticed is that, I've talked quite a lot in the past about, when I go to the gym in the morning, which admittedly I haven't done at all this year in 2020 for obvious reasons. But when I go to the gym in the morning, it's like I just create this space for myself within my own mind. I get out of my busy mind and I get into my physical body, and it just creates a space within me to really be in the best place I can be for the rest of the day. And although I've been doing like my morning routine at home, and I've been doing my meditations and home workouts and stuff like that, it's a different experience when you take yourself out of your environment and you put yourself in a fresh environment and you create that space for yourself, i.e., in my case, the gym. So this week I was like, right, I really feel like I want to go back to the gym. Like there was something in me. There's like something in me, like a wisdom was coming to me. Like it was just a feeling of like, I want to start going back to the gym, because I know that, I'm doing great things for my body, but I'm also doing great things for my mind when I'm in the gym. I want to do it. So Wednesday this week just gone, I got up early. It wasn't too early. I did sleep in a bit, I can't lie. But I got up early and I went to the gym for the first time since last December. And I just did a really easy, soft workout. It wasn't anything strenuous. It wasn't anything intense. I barely broke a sweat, but I just kind of went through the motions to get to wake up my body a little bit, and to also, like I said, to just give my mind that space. And I really felt such a difference that day. And I had such a buzz throughout the day, because I'd woken up, and instead of getting straight into my busy mind and my busy thinking, I was into my body, which means that I was present. And you guys have heard me say before that when your body and your mind are both in the same place, that's when you're truly present. And to me, that's what I feel like I get when I'm working out, is I'm truly being present to what I'm doing, because whatever the exercise is, it could be, a bench press, or it could be on warming up on the cross trainer, whatever it is, right? Or doing some pull-ups. I'm totally in sync with my mind and my body, because my body's obviously concentrating on the movement and my mind is concentrating on the movement too, or whatever's, I'm listening in my ears in terms of a podcast or whatever. And what happens is I really then sink fully into the moment. Everything else goes away. Like there's no worries, there's no stresses, there's no overthinking, there's no anxiety, there's just pure thought. And when we're in that state of pure thought, it's different to when we're being active in our thinking. And I like to talk about it like active thinking and conscious thinking. Active thinking is when you're getting caught up in your own thoughts. So you're thinking something and then you're continuing to add thought on top of it. It's kind of like when you are aware that you are thinking, you are in active thinking. And a lot of the time, that's what happens when we're overthinking or we're feeling stress or worry or anxiety. Conscious thinking, on the other hand, is the thinking that just comes to us. And that happens pretty much any moment that we allow our minds to be free. And when I feel like I'm best in that place is when I'm being really present. And when I'm really present, my mind is just flowing with conscious thinking. And there is nothing wrong with conscious thinking. But when I step into that and I get involved in the thinking, that's when the stresses and the worries come out. So when I'm working out and I'm in the gym, I actually end up just being totally present in that moment and with my conscious thinking, and just going through that hour, whatever it may, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. And coming from that place allows me to stay within that space throughout the day. And when I'm in that space throughout the day, I'm motivated, I'm inspired, I'm happy, I'm eager, I'm determined, I'm content, I'm grateful. But when I don't create that space for myself, that's when I sink into the lack of inspiration, not feeling motivated, feeling anxious, worried, stressed. But really and truly, like in this moment now, there are no worries, there are no stresses, because this moment is pure. And I think we get caught up a little bit when it comes to things like motivation, of like having to have something to motivate us, having to do something that motivates us. And don't get me wrong, I agree in some ways, because when it comes to work and you're passionate about things, there's a motivation that comes with that. But it's not the work that creates the motivation within you. It's the way you're being when you're doing that thing that creates the motivation for you to continue doing it, because you're being present and clear and you're conscious in those moments. And one of the things I said to my coach when we had the conversation yesterday was like, I feel like although I've had this lack of motivation, I feel like when I'm doing a podcast recording, or I'm on a coaching call, or I'm recording a video or creating some sort of content, I don't feel this lack of motivation. And that to me was when the penny really dropped of like, well, it's not the fact of the thing that I'm doing that is creating the motivation. It's the way I'm being in that moment that creates the feeling of motivation, because I'm purely present and here and living in that conscious thinking and that clarity, which comes with the inspiration, the motivation, the eagerness, the determination, all of those things. And I just thought that was so powerful, like realizing that. And it's, don't get me wrong, it's stuff in many ways that I know in inverted commas, right? But when you continually get these learnings and these insights just through little moments like that, it helps reinforce all of these beliefs and this understanding that, I'm creating throughout my life, that I'm having throughout my life, and I'm trying to share with you guys. And to me, that was a really powerful moment. So I want, hopefully the message of this episode for you guys is that motivation isn't something out there for you. There's not something out there that's going to create your motivation for you. There's not something out there that's going to bring you motivation. That motivation can only come from you, and that comes from you through the way that you are being in those moments. So I hope that this episode's been helpful for you. I hope that you've learned something from it. And in fact, if you have taken anything from this episode, I'd love to hear what you've learned from this episode, what small learning you may have made, and what one small action you'd want to take off the back of that.